we want to incentivize private developers to intensify land use by rejuvenating aging residential sites, including larger sites where the redevelopment will require a longer duration. Currently, most housing developers are required under the Additional Buyer's Stamp Duty regime, or the ABSD regime for short, in short, to commence construction within 2 years. Thereafter, they need to complete construction of their housing developments and sell all the units within 5 years to avoid incurring ABSD. These conditions ensure the timely injection of housing supply and encourage developers to bid prudently for the land. We recognize that developers seeking to undertake the redevelopment of large residential en bloc sites will require more time. They may not be able to meet the regular ABSD remission timelines. We could end up with a lose-lose outcome for the society as a whole if developers are discouraged from rejuvenating large residential en bloc sites. In March 2025, MND implemented a 6-month extension to the ABSD remission timelines for en bloc developers where the new development used at least 700 residential units with at least 50% more units than before. Having studied the situation and examined the incentives involved, I think we can go further. Starting from tomorrow, we will increase the ABSD remission timeline extension from 6 months to 1 year for developers that acquire large en bloc sites for redevelopment, giving them a total of 6 years to complete construction and to sell all units in the development. These are sites where the new development used at least 700 residential units with at least 50% more units than before. In addition, developers of mega en bloc sites that can use at least 1,400 housing units with at least 50% more units than before will get a 2-year extension to their ABSD remission timelines, which is a significant increase from the previous 6-month extension. This means that developers of such mega en bloc sites will get a total of 7 years to complete construction and sell all the units. The developers will have to sell a minimum of 50% of the residential units at the end of 6 years to qualify for the ABSD remission. These changes are intended to set the right incentives for developers to rejuvenate larger estates so that we can encourage more land intensification and achieve an outcome which is good for society. Property cooling measures were introduced from 2021. One of these was a 15-month wait-out period, which was introduced in September 2022 to moderate demand for HDB resale flats from individuals who previously owned private properties. With the exception of senior Singaporeans who are selling their private properties to buy a 4-room or smaller flat to prepare for their retirement, private property owners must wait 15 months after disposing their private properties before they can purchase a non-subsidized HDB resale flat. MND indicated from the onset that this was intended to be a temporary measure to help moderate demand and stabilize resale prices. We recognize that with a 15-month wait-out period, households with genuine housing needs faced inconveniences and disruption to their plans to switch from private property to resale flats. I think there can be many, many different reasons why people need to do that. Genuine reasons why people need to do that. So in my first media interview after becoming Minister for National Development, I said we will remove the 15-month wait-out period when market conditions allow us to do so. Looking at the data, HDB resale price growth has moderated significantly from a high of 10.4% in 2022 to 2.9% in 2025. Following a 0.1% reduction in resale prices in the first quarter of 2026, prices further decreased by 0.3% in the second quarter of 2026. As market conditions have improved, we have assessed that the 15-month wait-out period has met its purpose and will be removed with immediate effect. With this change, private property owners of all ages will no longer face a wait-out period to buy a non-subsidized HDB resale flat of any size. In the past, the policies prioritized public housing for families, and housing options for singles were limited to private housing. But we know social norms and demographics have changed, and across the world and also in Singapore, more people are choosing to remain single or to marry later in life. We respect these personal choices. Hence, while the government will continue to encourage marriage and parenthood and support families to achieve home ownership, we have progressively opened up public housing options to singles. In the 1990s, we opened the HDB resale market to singles when they reach age 35. In the 2010s, singles were able to buy two-room BTO flats directly from the government, but only in non-mature estates. And in 2024, with the introduction of the new flat classification framework, we expanded this to two-room BTO flats island-wide. It means not confined to only non-mature estates. Last year, we extended priority access under the family care scheme to singles when they apply for a new flat to live with or near their parents for mutual care and support. To further support younger singles, the government is looking at lowering the eligibility age of 35 for singles to buy HDB flats. And this policy is currently under careful review. These examples reflect the government's pragmatic approach to policy making, moving in tandem with changing times and keeping our policies relevant are essential in ensuring that the policies can deliver good outcomes for our people.